Hello everyone, Jai Hind. I am Ritika Dhyani. I worked as an assistant professor in AKGEC College. In my today's video lecture, I'll be discussing relational model in database management system. So the relational data model uses a collection of tables to represent both data as well as relationships among those data, which is we can know that in real world the objects have relationship with each other. Like if we talk about the database of a college, then each student or faculty are linked with each other. In similar way, we can describe these relationships using relational model. Each table has multiple columns, each column has unique name, and these tables are known as relations. The relational model is an example of a record based model because we keep record of each and every entity in the form of rows. Record based models are so named because the database is structured in fixed format records of several types. Each table contains records of a particular type. Each record type defines a fixed number of fields or attributes. These attributes represents the columns of a table. For example, let's say if we have a entity named student, or then a table exists for this particular entity, a student table, and in student table we can have roll number, ID, name, address, and so on, so many information regarding the particular entity. So all these columns are known as attributes for that particular relation. The column of the table correspond to the attributes of the record type. The relational data model is most widely used data model, and a vast majority of current database systems are based on this particular model. So this is how the data is represented in the relational model, where we can see there is a table which is, let's say, the relation itself known as student. And in this table, these are tuples or rows. All these column names are known as attributes. So here consider a relation student with attribute roll number, name, address, phone, age. Now, as I have already discussed, first one is attribute. So these are the columns of the relation, and it shows the property of a particular entity. Second one is relational schema, relation schema. A relation schema defines the structure of the relation. For example, a student table have roll number, name, address, phone, age is the relational schema for a particular relation student. If schema has more than one relation, it is called relational schema. Tuple, each row in a relation is known as tuple. Relation instance, the set of tuples of a relation at a particular instance of time is called relation instance. For example, in this case, this is the relations instance of this particular time when I am making this particular video. But if I make some updates after that, then those will not be seen in instance. So basically, instance work as a snapshot of a database at a particular moment of time. Next one is degree. It is the number of attributes in a relation. The student, in previous example, the student relation has degree 5. The cardinality, the number of tuples in a relation is known as cardinality, where we have these many rows, 4, then the cardinality of this particular relation is 4. Next one is null value. Now, the value which is not known or unavailable is called null value. It is represented by the blank space. For example, in this case, this phone number doesn't exist in this database, so it has some null value associated with it. Next is relation key. So there are basically some keys that are used to identify the rows uniquely or also help in identifying tables. These are of the following types. First one is primary key, super key, alternate key, candidate key, foreign key, and composite key. Let's discuss each key one by one. Super key. Super key is the set of all the keys which help to identify rows in a table uniquely. This means that all those columns of a table that capable of identifying the other columns of that table uniquely will all be considered as super key. What does it mean? Let's say we have the same example here. So first of all, how we can identify each row? Firstly, we have roll number. Only if we use roll number, then we can identify each particular student. Like roll number 3 is for Sujit, roll number 1 is for Ram. We can identify each row uniquely. Then along with roll number, we can have name. Using these two attributes, we can also find the tuples uniquely. Then roll number address is such combination, roll number phone is also a combination, roll number age is also a combination through which we can identify each row uniquely. Similarly, if we have the combination like roll number, name and address, then also we are able to find the tuples uniquely. So all these combinations, and the last is taking all these attributes at once. This also can be used to find the tuple uniquely. So all these are super keys for this particular database. Next is primary key. Primary key is a column of table or a set of columns that helps to identify every record present in the table uniquely. There can be only one primary key in a table. Also, the primary key cannot have the same values repeating for any row. The primary key constraint put on a column or set of columns will not allow them to have any null value or any duplicates. Any value in the primary key cannot be changed by any foreign key which refers to it. Here, if we have the same example, then in this case, we have so many super keys, but in roll number, only roll number itself can identify each and every row of this database. We don't need the name or address attribute along with roll number to find each row. So, here we can have primary key as roll number. This is the first primary key. In this table, there is a doubt whether we can use phone as a primary key. See, phone number is also unique for each student because no two person can be given the same phone number. But in the previous slide, we have discussed that primary key cannot have any null value or any duplicates. Then it means here we cannot allow this phone number to be null. So we cannot have this as a primary key. If we have one more attribute here, which is like Aadhaar number, then and each entry for Aadhaar number is available, then we can have second primary key Aadhaar number. But either one of them must be taken as primary key. No two attributes can contribute to primary key at the same moment. Next one is your candidate key. Candidate key are those attributes that uniquely identify rows of a table. The primary key of a table is selected from one of the candidate keys. The candidate key is minimal super key. There can be more candidate keys than just one for any table. Every candidate key carries unique information and value. Beside these characteristics, a combination of attributes also work as a set of candidate keys. So, in this example, I have discussed that there are so many so many super keys, which is roll number, then roll number name, third one roll number address, roll number phone, roll number age, then roll number name, address, and so on. These many super keys are available for this particular database. Now, always remember, candidate key is the minimal super key. Minimal super key means any combination of attributes which can find the tuples uniquely must be less in number of attributes. What does it mean? It means here we have one attribute, here two attributes, same two attributes, here we have three attributes. So the minimal super key having one attribute can be the candidate key for this particular relation. Of course, if we have two more attributes like Aadhaar and PAN number, of course, both of these attributes cannot have the duplicates entry. First of all, because each person is given unique Aadhaar number and PAN number. So here, if we have these entries, then we can consider we have roll number as candidate key. We can have Aadhaar as candidate key and PAN also, because three of them are the minimal super keys. Next one is your alternate key. All candidate keys except primary key will act as alternate key for that particular relation. In the previous slide, I have shown that in this example, we can have three candidate keys. Then we made this roll number as primary key. Now these two remaining attributes or candidate keys can work as alternate key. So the alternate keys are the candidate keys excluding the primary key. Next is your foreign key. Foreign key is used to establish relationships between two tables. A foreign key will require each value in a column or a set of columns to match the primary key of the referential table. Foreign keys help to maintain data and referential integrity. Foreign keys are essential for maintaining a difference between two entities that might be linked with same information but do not share the similar information. For example, we are having this student table and this course table. We have these two relations with us. So in this particular relation, this roll number will act as primary key for this relation. And in this table, first of all, we need to find what is the primary key for this particular relation. See, here course ID can be repeated because it might be a case where two different students can opt the same course. This roll number 3 also having 1, 2, 3 course or BTech, enrolled in BTech. So we cannot use this course ID as primary key because primary key cannot have duplicate values. Now, when it comes to roll number, we can see each student can be admitted to only one course, either BTech, either MCA, either BSc or any other course. It may not be the case, must not be the case where a student is admitted to two different courses, whether it's BTech or MCA. It's not possible in real life. So this entry of this particular table is always be unique. So this is the primary key also for this table, but this primary key came from this student relation, because we cannot have entry here, let's say 5, if we do not have roll number 5 here. So this is the parent table, this is the child table. So now primary key of one table is also the primary key of another table. So here it can be used as or referenced as foreign key. This roll number in this course table will work as foreign key for student relation. Now unique key. Unique key is a column or set of columns that uniquely identify each record in a table. All values will have to be unique in this case. A unique key differs from a primary key because it can have only one null value, whereas a primary key cannot have any null value. Among the 7 type of keys available in the DBMS, a few other types of keys in SQL are also accessible. The key type is called artificial keys. An artificial key has no relevance or meaning to the business, but it is often used to tackle conflicting data management situations. For example, if there is no attribute that comprises all required primary key properties, or if the primary keys are complex, so in that case we can use the attribute as artificial key. So now, constraints in relational model. While designing the relational model, we define some conditions which must hold for data present in the database. These conditions are known as constraints. These constraints are checked before performing any operation, which is insertion, deletion or updation in database. If there is a violation of any of the constraint, the operation will fail. So first constraint is your domain constraint. These are attribute level constraints. An attribute can only take values that lie inside the particular domain range. For example, the age of the student must be greater than 0. So if in this relation, student relation, the age cannot have negative value or 0 as a value. If the user inputs the 0 or negative value, the operation will fail and an error message is shown on the screen. Second is key constraint. Key constraints are regulations that a DBMS uses to ensure data accuracy and consistency in the database. They define how the values in a table's one or more columns are related to the values in other tables, making sure that the data remains correct. So it maintains the consistency and integrity basically. In DBMS, there are several key constraint kinds, including first one is primary key constraint. Primary key constraint is an individual identifier for each record in a database. It guarantees that each database entry contains a single distinct value or a pair of values that cannot be null as its method of identification. It means primary key cannot have duplicate entries. Secondly, it cannot have any null entry. If these two are the cases, then an error message is shown on the screen. Next is foreign key constraint. Reference to the primary key in the another table is a foreign key constraint. It ensures that the value of a column or a set of columns in one table corresponds to primary key column in another table. So basically, if in case we delete or update or try to insert any new data in the child table, then this constraint, this foreign key constraint will not allow us to update any entry unless or until we cascade this update or delete operation from the parent table. Next is unique constraint. In a database, a unique constraint ensures that no two values inside a column or collection of columns are the same. So, it ensures that if there is a column or attribute which can have only unique value, then there should not be any duplicacy in that. Next is entity integrity constraint. A database management system uses entity integrity constraints to enforce rules that guarantee a table's primary key is unique and not null. The consistency and integrity of data in a database are maintained by this particular constraint, entity integrity constraint, which are created to stop the formation of duplicate or incomplete entries. Because if we have, if we take the example of a college level database, then if a student doesn't have any roll number, then how can we find that particular student? Because name can be used, but it might be a possibility that many students of the same name exist in a particular class. Then how we are able to find that particular student? So, in that case, we cannot allow this particular roll number to be null as well as have duplicate entry. Next is your referential integrity constraint. A database management system will apply referential integrity constraint RIC in order to preserve the consistency and integrity of connections between tables. By preventing links between entries that don't exist from being created, or by removing records that have related records in other tables, RIC guarantee that the data in database is always consistent. For example, let's have the two relations order and customer. Primary key column in customer database correspond to the foreign key field in customer ID in order dataset. Let's say we have two relations, one is order and another one is customer. We are having some ID here as a attribute. Also, this customer ID work as foreign key here and primary key here. So, RIC on this connection requires that each value in the customer ID column of the order table exists in customer table primary key column. It might not be the case where we have this customer ID 5 exist in this particular table if we do not have the same entry in the first table. If an attempt was made to insert a record into the order table with non-existent customer ID here, the database management system would reject such insertion and notify the user about the error. Similar to this, the database management system would either prohibit the deletion or cascade the deletion in order to ensure referential integrity. If a record in the customer table was removed and linked entities in the order table. Next is the anomalies in referential model. An anomaly is an irregularity or something which deviates from the expected or normal state. First one is your insertion anomaly. Insertion anomaly, we can't insert a row in referencing relation if referencing attribute value is not present in the referenced attribute value. Second is deletion or updation anomaly. We can't delete or update a particular row from referenced relation if the value of referenced attribute is used in the value of referencing attribute. Next is the advantages of the relational model. First one, it is very simple to understand. Relational model is simple and easy to use in comparison to other languages. Second, it is very flexible than other models. Third, it provides more security than any other model. Fourth one is data accuracy is high in this particular data model because of the constraints that we have studied earlier. Next is data integrity. The integrity constraint ensures the integrity of the data in relational model. Operations can be applied easily. It is better to perform operations in this particular relational model. Now, some of the disadvantages is it might not be good for large databases. Sometimes it becomes very difficult to find the relations between the tables, because if in case of large databases there are so many hundreds or thousands of relations that exist in that particular database, and if we try to find relations or relationship between these entities or tables, it becomes such a chaos to do so. Because of the complex structure, the response time is generally high for such queries also. So these are the some disadvantages of this particular relational model. Now, some of the characteristics of this relation model is the data is represented in rows and columns, which we call as relations. Data is stored in tables having relationship between each other. The relational model supports the operation like data definition, data manipulation, and transaction management. Each column has a distinct name and they are representing the different attributes. Each row represents a single entity.